We're live.
Hi, everyone. This is Kelly Satola coming at you this evening with Wellness for You. Thanks for joining me today. It is March 2022, and it is National Nutrition Month, although the month is almost over. We're bringing all things wellness to you again and hoping to focus a little on nutrition and that physical wellness today. The topic is fast food makeover, and if you've watched our sessions in the past, hopefully you've gotten some good recipe ideas, things that are relatively easy to prepare at home for meals, for snacks. But understandably, we're all caught sometimes having to go out to eat, run through that drive-through, grab something quick. So I get a lot of questions about what is good to eat at fast food and what kind of ways can I make better choices. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And as always, if you have questions or comments or answers to questions, please just put them in the chat wherever you're viewing. And not only will we try to get to those and answer those, but remember, every time you comment or ask a question, your name goes in for some prizes. And we'll have more giveaways for you for this session today. So let's start talking just briefly about wellness for you and how the topics that we try to provide include all dimensions of wellness. So we're talking about food today, but please check out our past videos because we cover things like physical activity, stress management, healthy sleep, all things wellness. And there's such a load of things on our website that you can take a look at. And also communicate with us at NFP. Let us know what kind of topics you'd like to see and what kind of things you'd like us to cover. Like I mentioned, today is, or this month is National Nutrition Month. And so we are celebrating a world of flavors. That's the theme for this year. And there's a couple of good pieces of advice for not only National Nutrition Month, but for always. First thing, eat a variety of nutritious foods from all the food groups. And so this is a good summary of what we're always talking about too. We're thinking about the My Plate, talking about the 5 food groups. And it's really great to get a variety of foods from all 5 of those food groups, not overdo it in any one group and underdo it somewhere else. So when we're talking about fast food choices, we're going to encourage you to be picking things from all 5 food groups if they're available. Next, incorporate your favorite cultural foods and traditions into meals. Now, this is something that we've done a little bit with Wellness for You, and we're certainly trying to do better at Neighborhood Family Practice insofar as we want to try to understand all of your cultural foods and traditions because it's not as helpful to give you nutrition advice when we're just talking about like typical American foods. You know, you guys might be preparing meals that are fabulous and that a lot of people could enjoy. So any kind of feedback that you'd like to provide, or if you'd like to set up a visit with a dietitian at NFP, and we can learn from each other and you can educate me on some of the foods that you're eating, dishes that you're making, and how you're preparing those. Next, so this is good advice. Meet with a registered dietitian nutritionist for individualized nutrition advice. Remember, NFP has dietitians on staff. We're part of the wellness team. And so if you are an NFP patient and are interested in talking with one of us and having a wellness visit, you simply call NFP and ask to be scheduled for a wellness visit. And for those of you who aren't NFP patients but are out in our community and are viewing this today, feel free to continue to comment and ask questions, and also check out our website and all of our social media outlets too for good nutrition information. Plan healthful meals and snacks for the week. Now, this is a little more involved. How many of you out there are currently planning your meals? And you can use the chat to let me know. Maybe you're putting together a menu for the week. Or just kind of jotting down some ideas when you're going to the grocery store as to what you're going to make for the week. It's really helpful to have things as planned out as possible so that you're not stuck having to run through the drive-through or order out. But of course, that does happen sometimes. So that's why we're going to talk about that today. And finally, create tasty foods at home. And this is a giant part of what Wellness for You is all about. Just bringing you some healthy recipes and some cooking methods and ideas so that you can create foods at home that you enjoy, that your family enjoys, and that are good and nutritious. Okay, so we will be sharing a recipe at the end of the webinar today. And just so you know, as always, there's some supplemental information that you can download about our topic today, as well as the recipe. But I will show you that recipe. We're going to be making some sheet pan chicken Phillies today. So this is that My Plate that depicts the 5 food groups, and you're familiar with this. We've talked about this a number of times at Wellness for You. But really, this is something that I encourage everybody to keep in the back of their mind when they are going through that drive-through line or when they're at a restaurant looking at a menu. You could be putting some thought into it and thinking, okay, are there some vegetables in this? Are there whole grains here? Do I have a good source of protein? Is there some dairy involved? Maybe some fruit? So this is just a good visual to kind of keep you on track to hopefully make better choices. I took a screenshot of the McDonald's that are in our neighborhood family practice service area because I was trying to get a sense of what the most popular fast food restaurants were around us. And you may have noticed that like within a few blocks, it's like we're passing another McDonald's, another Taco Bell, another Mr. Hero or something. So everybody watching today might have a different favorite place that they like to go for fast food. But I'm going to pick on McDonald's just a little bit just because there's just so many of them. And it seems to be super popular. And not only can you get lunch and dinner food there, but many people enjoy their breakfast also. So let's just talk about what is available at outlets such as McDonald's. And if you're viewing and have access to your chat, please let me know where you tend to stop for fast food and what kind of things you're ordering. What are your favorite things? What are the things that you're choosing these days? Okay, so I know this is probably pretty small on your screen, but we've all seen these foods before. Typical items that are available for breakfast, and then the burgers that are available at McDonald's. One thing that strikes me as soon as I look at this slide is the lack of nice, bright colors. It looks like everything's just about the same color. It's a lot of bread and a lot of fatty meats. And there are some opportunities to add lettuce and tomato and things like that. But you can see that those kind of pale in comparison to just the fatty meat and the bread that is part of most fast food meals. And the breakfast, same thing. There's really no vegetables there except for the hash brown. And that's a fried, starchy type vegetable. So that's not the kind of vegetables that we want you to fill your plate with. But this is typically what you have to choose from when you go through the drive-through at a McDonald's. Now, when you're looking at French fries, which is also a commonly ordered thing at a lot of fast food restaurants, I just wanted to point out like the amount of calories that are in a regular size fry or a medium. And, you know, if you're ordering larger than medium, then you're going to have to do that math and determine what you're getting in terms of calories. But like, for example, Five Guys, a regular size side of fries at Five Guys contains 953 calories. So if you work with a nutritionist and the recommendation is that you eat, let's say, 2,000 calories in a day, that one order of fries is nearly half of your calories for the day. That's probably the biggest example, but you can see that the fries from just about every fast food outlet are somewhere in the neighborhood of 300 or 400 calories. And that's still pretty significant for just a side dish. We're not featuring it today, but there are ways to bake your own fries at home and kind of create your own fast food. And you'd significantly cut down on the fat and the calories if you bake your fries versus the fried version that you get at these restaurants. they contain a lot of carbohydrate as well because they're that starchy potato. So if you are monitoring your carbohydrate intake, whether it's for diabetes or for weight management, consider that too. I mean, most of these have somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 grams of carbohydrate. And again, that's just for the side dish. So first piece of advice when ordering from a fast food restaurant is skip the fries. Usually the sandwich, like I said, you have an opportunity to add some vegetables to it. And some of these places are getting better at offering things like whole grain buns and stuff like that. The fries, though, are always going to be that calorie bomb, that carbohydrate bomb. So if there's something else that you can substitute as a side dish, I would go that way if you're having to go through the fast food line. So the question comes up always about, well, I ordered the chicken. Isn't that better? And these are some of the common chicken products or items that are on the McDonald's menu. And again, they're just mostly fried chicken sandwiches. You can get a grilled version of some of these things, which is better, vastly better, because now you don't have the breading and it's not deep fat fried, it's grilled. So that is certainly an option. If whole grain buns were available at a place like McDonald's, I would definitely order the whole grain bun, but that's just not the case here. There are some McDonald's restaurants that offer some specialty items like these foldovers that you see on your screen, just different versions of the same chicken and the same toppings. And then, of course, the popular chicken nuggets. These are fried pieces of chicken, so that's not advised as far as a healthy diet goes. You want to order things that are grilled, baked, and lower fat if possible. And chicken nuggets do not fit that definition. Here are some comparisons of the sandwiches that are available at Burger King. There's a Burger King nearby where I'm at NFP. As you can see here, these sandwiches are getting pretty close to 1,000 calories in some instances. And some of them have like double the protein. So you've got like these patties plus bacon and stuff like that. So I would also assume that the fat is very high, as well as the sodium in a lot of these burgers. The fact of the matter is that many of us are managing diabetes or managing high blood pressure or high cholesterol. And these foods at the fast food restaurants just really don't fit the definition of what would be healthy for someone that's watching those type of things. So this information is available on the menus. Even when you go through the drive-through, it's right there for you to take a look at. And the thought behind it is you can make some better choices. You can think, oh, maybe I should stick with just a single hamburger at 250 calories as opposed to the Bacon King, which has a little over 1,000 calories. If the first thing you do is just compare calories and go with a lower calorie option, that's a really good first step. And I would guess that you'd probably be just as satisfied with one of the smaller, lower calorie sandwiches. A lot of times, like, we build this stuff up in our mind and then we eat this giant sandwich and then we just get used to that amount of food. So experiment with ordering less, ordering a smaller version of something. There are even some dietitians that really talk about ordering from the kids menu, because things are naturally just smaller in those Happy Meals and on the kids menu, which is probably an appropriate size for an adult too. I'm wondering, I cannot see the chat box, but if anybody's chatting in their favorites, their things that they like to order, just let me know, because then we can focus on that. But I'll just keep showing you some examples of here's
Kelly?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So you just have one comment, steak bagel from Diana.
Steak bagel.
Yes.
Yes. I believe I've seen that on the McDonald's menu, although it could be part of any breakfast menu, I suppose. Bagels are traditionally very large at fast food outlets, and that means that they're going to be high calorie and high carb too. Most bagels, the size that they are the same as eating like 4 or 5 slices of bread in some cases. So unless it's a whole grain bagel that is a smaller version, I would go with the English muffin every time. The bagels just tend to be a little too much bread, or a lot more bread, I should say. And I don't believe that was on my slide, so I couldn't really tell you how many calories are in that. But the next time, Diana, you go through the drive-through, just take a look at the nutrition facts for that steak bagel, and it'll give you a sense of how many calories you're getting. A lot of times the sodium and the fat is on these menus as well. So here's KFC, just another opportunity to order chicken. But you can see that the calories are about the same as some of the other places too. Now, a lot of places are offering things that are like keto friendly or trying to be somewhat low carb. They might skip the bun, skip the bread, some of these things like these veggie boxes, salads. So those are good options too. You can look at something like that and see how that looks a little closer to the My Plate than some of these burgers that are just bread and meat. All right, so here's just an example of what you might see on the menu in terms of the calories. They're going to give you a range, and it's going to be based on whether or not you get a large fry versus a small fry, and whether you get a sugar sweetened beverage or water. So something like the Big Mac meal could be anywhere between 560 calories if you get the smallest fry and just a water or a diet drink. But it could also go all the way up to 1,160 calories if you get the larger fry and the sugary drink. So again, just kind of putting it into perspective of what are you getting when you order fast food? You're getting a whole lot of calories, and these things just don't look that much like the My Plate. So the restaurants that offer low calorie things, or these low carb or keto friendly or Weight Watchers friendly type items, this is what you might expect to see. The grilled chicken, egg white sandwiches instead of whole egg. Lots of wraps tend to be on these menus, and it's just cutting down on the bread, the carbs, the calories. Most of the time there's salads that are promoted as healthier options. And so, you do have some options just about everywhere you go. But understand that you can probably ask for some modifications to your favorite things. If you usually order a chicken sandwich, think, well, can I get grilled chicken this time? If you usually get fries, think, well, maybe I'll make fries at home some other day this week. I'm going to get the salad on the side or the fruit cup on the side. Wraps, just take a look at the calories in some of these wraps, because if they're very large, they're going to have a lot of calories and fat in them too. If you're ordering a sandwich or a wrap, try to add as many vegetables as possible if they'll let you do that. If you go to a place that you kind of build your own sandwich or your own wrap, then you have the opportunity to ask for like extra stuff like spinach and greens and peppers and cucumbers and stuff like that. So here's just a couple more ideas about things that people typically order at some of the really popular fast food places and how many calories they're getting out of that meal. And like I said, most of us are working with 2,000 calories a day, probably less than that if you're not as active. Most women don't need as many as 2,000 a day. So just something as simple as a burger and a baked potato could top out at 1,500 calories if it's the Baconator and the chili cheese baked potato. So how do you think you could make things like this a little healthier? And I'll just defer to you guys. If you have any ideas about that, put them in the chat. I can tell you my thoughts on this. The burger, the fries, the McFlurry. I mean, obviously the McFlurry is kind of an added extra, but we already talked about cutting the fries out, or at least ordering a smaller fry, because you could see there that the amount of calories in that fry is the same as the amount of calories in that Big Mac. That's where most of these calories come from. So you're going to go with a baked potato instead. Great. But if you order the chili cheese baked potato, that has more calories in it than the large French fry. So I would skip the chili cheese part. Baked potatoes are great in and of themselves, just with maybe a little bit of butter, maybe a tiny bit of sour cream if that's your thing. Try to keep those things as plain as possible. Let's see. And then the chicken strip basket and a blizzard at DQ. So the chicken strip basket is just fried chicken, French fries, and they even give you a slice of bread, which is really not necessary. But even something like that is like a smaller basket, is about 1,000 calories. So I think it's a good thing that they've started putting this information on the menus. I'm wondering how you guys feel about that, if you use that information. Here's some breakfast sandwiches. So many places are offering breakfast now, and it may be that at breakfast time is when we're doing more of this drive-through, because we're pressed for time, we're on our way to work, we're on our way to school. So it's very tempting to just stop and grab something like this. But there are ways to make this stuff at home. And this is where we're going to segue into our recipe for this evening. Most of what's available for breakfast at these places are egg sandwiches on either an English muffin or a bagel or a biscuit or something like that. Taco Bell uses their tortilla for this. But it's basically just egg and some bread. Here's the Mr. Hero menu, and I know it's probably really, really tiny, but just another example of how that calorie, sodium, and fat information is right on the menu. If it's not, you can ask for it. And most of these places have really nice websites that you can do a little bit of research. I think it's worth going on your favorite restaurant's website just one time and looking up the amount of nutrients that is in your typical order. So that steak bagel is a good example. Go to the website of the restaurant that has that and just see what's in there. Then add in your sides, add in your drink, and see how many calories you're getting for that meal. Just to show you, like, we're going to make a chicken Philly today here at home. The chicken Philly at Burger King, I'm sorry, at Mr. Hero, it says that it has 1,021 calories in it. So 1,000 calories for that chicken Philly. And chicken Philly is something that a lot of patients tell me, well, since you told me that fast food isn't good for me, I continue to go to Mr. Hero, but I'm going to get the chicken Philly instead of the Philly cheese steak. And the way that it's prepared and all of the cheese that they put on there, the butter that they use, it's the same amount of vegetables. It's the same white bun. You know, it isn't that much of an improvement. So we have to start looking at fast food as all the same category. Like there are few healthy choices at most fast food restaurants. You can kind of negotiate a little bit and make it a little healthier, but you really are better off making these things at home for yourself. And I will demonstrate that in just a moment. But if there's any questions about anything, just use the chat for that. Here's the Chipotle nutrition information. And this website's really cool because you can go on there and build what your burrito or your bowl looks like, and it'll do all the math for you and it'll calculate it out. The really cool thing about that is that if your burrito or bowl is like super high in calories or fat or sodium or whatever, you can adjust it. You can make adjustments right there on the website and say, well, maybe I'll get half the rice next time. Maybe I'll add more tomatoes next time instead of the corn or whatever. And then see how making those little adjustments influences the amount of calories and stuff. You know, when I break down like what's available at Chipotle, look what you're seeing here. You're seeing lean grilled meats, which is great. You're seeing beans, which are full of fiber and full of protein, which are really good too. I don't think a lot of people eat beans unless they're going to Chipotle. So that Chipotle is good for that. The lettuce is romaine lettuce, which we've said is nice dark green. So it has a little more nutrition in it. There's avocado there, which is a very healthy fat, the guacamole. So you can build a relatively healthy meal at Chipotle. Where we run into trouble, though, is the white rice and the tortillas, because these add a tremendous amount of calories with very little nutritional value. They do have brown rice at Chipotle, so you could certainly swap the white out for brown, and you're making an improvement that way. But I would always recommend going with the bowl over the burrito at Chipotle. Why waste 320 calories on that tortilla? Okay, portions. So fast food isn't as much of a problem, I don't think, as a sit-down restaurant might be. But we're all familiar with like the huge portions that we might get at some of these restaurants. So what you're seeing here is just like what you might typically be served: burger and fries. No big deal. We've all been in that situation where we get our fries and we look at it and say, boy, they're pretty skimpy here. They didn't give me that many fries. But look at the plate on the right. That is one serving. So that small handful of fries, that's actually an appropriate serving of something like that. And a half a burger on a half a bun is actually one serving as well. So sometimes it's not even about the types of foods you're ordering, it's about the amount. And Chipotle's famous for that too. They give you a lot of food. Here's a Chipotle style burrito with some chips. So eating that whole burrito and chips on the side
I'm
is
sorry
going
to
to,
interrupt, Kelly.
oh, yes.
You had a comment
Okay.
from Christina. She had stated a secret of fast food places they could possibly uh, ring you up for a medium fry instead of a small fry if you order a combo, especially if they are having a competition between locations. So be careful when or if you order.
Wow. Okay. I did not know that. Thank you for
Me
that
neither.
little insider tip there. Yeah, so you have to be pretty clear about what you're ordering, and they don't make it real easy, especially with the prices. You tend to get a better deal the bigger you go, unfortunately. So, if you're looking to be economical about it too, maybe you'll have to share this stuff with somebody because you'll get the larger portion, or save some for later. And this Chipotle burrito is an example of that. Like half of that burrito is actually an appropriate serving. So I don't know if you guys are willing to share your Chipotle with anybody, but you're going to get a whole lot when you order a burrito. You might have to just cut it in half and save half for later. This is really small, I understand, but I just wanted to make the point before I show you what we're making today that you can actually spend quite a bit less if you purchase the ingredients to the things that you tend to order and make them at home. Yes, it does take a little bit of time, but there are some workarounds for that. But you have more control over what goes in this stuff. So if you bought burgers for the family, even side salads, fries, things like that, you're going to spend $20 or $30 on that. What you're seeing here on your screen is about $21 worth of groceries. These are Walmart prices. And what you're seeing there are some frozen chicken breasts, some nice low-fat milk and yogurt, some fresh fruit like bananas. You've got some brown rice, some romaine lettuce, and some eggs here. So just if you really break down what you're paying for, you're paying a lot more when you have to go through a drive-through or go to a restaurant than if you were to cost this out and make it yourself. So here's just some examples of how you can pull these meals together at home: baking your own fries, making your own burgers. If you guys have any ideas about how to take what you order and make it more healthfully at home, please put it in the chat. I'm thinking about things like using whole grain buns instead of the white buns you might get out at a restaurant, making a side salad or a vegetable side instead of fries when you're eating that burger. You see a picture here of a breakfast sandwich that is on a whole grain English muffin. And I've added avocado to this. So I've added that nice healthy fat, a little bit of fruit in the morning. And the strange circle picture that you're seeing there are egg patties that you can make in the oven in a muffin tin. They're super easy. We have the recipe on our website, or we will have the recipe there. This is something that you can make like 12 of these ahead of time, put them in your fridge or freezer, and then pull together and heat up a quick breakfast sandwich in the morning before you leave for the day. No need to stop at the drive-through. And you're baking these, you're not frying them. And like I said, if you get that nice whole grain English muffin, put some vegetables on there, put some avocado on there, you're really just upping the nutrition factor. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen. All right. Let me show you what we've got for you today. Can you see me, Sin? Okay. There we go.
Yes.
So what I'm making is a chicken Philly, and it's a sheet pan meal. And these have become really popular lately. And I'm going to be really quick about it because I know we're running out of time. But this is just for a chicken Philly because we're talking about fast food. But you can do a sheet pan meal with just about anything. What we're talking about is putting your meat or protein on a sheet pan, as well as all your vegetables, and just baking them in the oven all together at the same time. You're only dirtying a bowl maybe and a pan, and everything is going to be ready and nice and hot all at the same time. So the example I'm going to give you today is this chicken Philly. So all we have here is the recipe calls for 2 pounds of chicken, and you're just cutting it into bite-sized pieces. You add a little bit of olive oil to the bite-sized pieces of chicken, and you season it with salt and pepper is what the recipe says, but I'm using my handy dandy Dash seasoning. This one's Southwest Chipotle, but you know Dash comes in all different types of blends depending on what you prefer. So you just season it up with a little bit of olive oil to make everything stick really nicely, and you just spread it out on this sheet pan. And I've put a piece of parchment paper just to make it even easier clean up later on. I'll show you what this looks like. I'm simply just spreading these little pieces of chicken out on the sheet pan. And something to keep in mind about this too is, you know, I came home from work today and I chopped this chicken and I chopped these vegetables to get it ready for you guys. This is certainly something I could have done earlier this week. Maybe I was chopping chicken for something else that I made on Sunday night or Monday night. I could have chopped this extra chicken then, and that would have just saved me time today. So that's just a time saver tip, you know, processing something when you get it home from the grocery store so that it'll save you time later. Okay, so I hope you can see this. This is my just spreading it out in a single layer on the sheet pan. And then because we're doing like a Philly style, and I don't know if you could see this here, hope a little bit. All right, so we've got some sliced up mushrooms, and I'm using the little baby Bella mushrooms. So those are my favorite, just putting those into a bowl. Pepper, and what is recommended is like a variety of not just green pepper, but some yellows, some orange, some red. And then some red onion cut into wedges. So I'm adding that to my bowl as well, and that'll kind of come apart in little pieces. And just like the chicken, I am adding a little bit of olive oil to this. Ooh, not the cat. But just about a tablespoon of olive oil, just again to get the seasoning to stick. Add my seasoning. And then you're really just kind of tossing that around. Let it do its thing for a minute or two, kind of marinate in that olive oil just a little bit. And then the chicken, I didn't mention this, but in addition to putting the seasoning in here, I also put a little bit of minced garlic on this as well. So all of those great flavors have kind of incorporated into that chicken. And all I'm doing is spreading this part out too. So you can see where if I had chopped these vegetables ahead of time too, this would have been super quick because all I would have had to do is get these containers out and spread this stuff out on the sheet pan It's okay if they touch because it's all going in the oven. It's all going to get nice and hot and cooked. And that is it. I mean, I've got my protein and I've got vegetables here. I'm going to stick this in the oven for 15 minutes and let it do its thing. I'll be right back. Okay. So earlier I made a batch of this. Michelle would be so proud of me with my TV magic. My chicken I laid out here. I used a red pepper for the first batch, but you can see how everything just became nice and roasted. It smells great. It smells delicious. So what I might do with this is add something like a provolone cheese. You can put this on the chicken. You can put this on some buns. Put the buns under the broiler for a minute or two to get them nice and toasty. And then you're really just scooping the vegetables and the meat, the protein that you want onto your steak filling. It's super easy. And what we've done here is we've used a very lean type of meat. We've baked it, not fried it. We used a healthy, heart-healthy oil like an olive oil, a low sodium seasoning to make it taste a little jazzy. And then we've used a variety of vegetables here. Red pepper, orange pepper, which are great sources of vitamin C. We've got onions to flavor it up and mushrooms to give it that nice Philly style flavor, and garlic in there as well, which is heart healthy. So that's what I've got for you today. So if you have any questions about that, like I said, the recipe will be available to you to download, and just play around with it. Just experiment with it. You can probably deconstruct just about anything that you're getting at a fast food restaurant, whether it's a salad or a bowl or a sandwich or a sub. I mean, you know what's in there. You know the ingredients. And so hopefully from having viewed Wellness for You for the past year and a half, you've learned the tips and tricks on how to get that done and how to eat more healthfully. But I can see the chat now. I'm not seeing very many questions come through, but if you guys think of anything, any comments, let me know. This may be the last Wellness for You, at least online, for a while. We're hoping to get back to the in-person cooking classes and wellness classes, so keep an eye out for that. And happy National Nutrition Month, and have a good night, everybody.